So I'm going to rant and rave a little bit today. The one thing that we generally don't do as guitar players is learn stuff in smaller digestible chunks. When I was in college, I had a teacher who told me, look at it this way. If I walked you up to an elephant, said, eat this thing, you wouldn't be able to do it. It's physically impossible. If we cut the elephant up into steaks and you had a steak every day, eventually you'd be able to eat that elephant. You'd achieve that goal, right? And that made sense to me. You know, I was 18, I was kind of dumber. But the idea is that, you know, we generally tend to look at an elephant and go, well, yeah, I can eat that, yeah, musically. If you were to take any other instrument, you'd expect a teacher to put a book in front of you, teach you to read music, teach you technique and theory, and you know, and major and minor scale exercise, all kinds of stuff. You know, that's how you learn those. But for guitar, you know, we've generally thrown that out the window. Okay, which is, you know, some folks, you know, that's fine. But most people I teach, they don't, you know, they feel trapped by that. It's hard to get any kind of traction. You know, so what we do is we break things down into these steaks, you know, smaller chunks. You know, the first thing I do with a brand new student is I give them some chords to play because it feels like they're playing guitar. It's getting their motor skills going. And it takes weeks before someone can comfortably play those chords and make them change in time. And, you know, so they've got a batch of open chords. And while they're struggling with those, I start working on rhythms, understanding how to count rhythms and feel time, being able to tap your foot or internalize a pulse, and then subdivide it with eighth notes or triplets or 16th notes. You know, getting them so they can clap rhythms. You can actually feel the time before we start putting it together with those chords. After about 3-4 lessons, you know, we're strumming eighth notes, we're making chords happen in time. We've kind of worked on two smaller chunks and we put them together, and then we can play some simple songs. And we're actually doing them right because we understand about rhythm, we've got a little technique, you know, we've actually taken the time and repetition to develop the motor skills to make the chords sound good. And that gives us a foundation to move on. Things to ask yourself, can you do that with rhythms? You know, do you understand how time flows, pulse and subdivision, meter? You know, if any of those are words you haven't you've never heard before, then you know, there's something for you to look at and work on. Yeah, as far as your fretboard goes, do you know the names of the notes on the fretboard? Do you understand how they repeat all over the place? Do you know what a major scale is? How to construct it, how to play it all over the fretboard? Do you know how to build major triads and turn, you know, and alter them into other minor chords and diminished and augmented? There's all of these things that, you know, if you go through the process of learning them one small steak at a time, you know, it may seem like it's tedious and it's taking forever, but if you spend 6 months working on that, I mean, how many of you guys have spent, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, 30 years playing guitar and haven't gotten very far? Yeah, I get a lot of adults, you know, have played guitar longer than I have as a hobby, but never really delved that deep in any of this stuff. They just learned some songs and they kind of got to the point where they were tired of not being able to do anything. So then we have to kind of relearn the instrument. And within a few short months, they're playing the instrument way better than they ever did. But part of it is because I presented the information to them in a way that makes sense and in smaller chunks. I made it all digestible. All right, instead of like, we're going to learn Stairway to Heaven, right? And think about it, there's finger picking, there's arpeggiating chords with a pick, there's strumming, there's a solo, there's open chords, there's, you know, there's power chords, there's all kinds of stuff, little triads. You know, Stairway to Heaven's like one of those songs everybody wants to learn, tons of guys learn it. They don't understand how many lessons there are in a piece of music like that, little stakes, you know. And you know, to me that's the idea. Let's kind of break this thing down into smaller bits and actually let's try and digest it, you know, and build a really healthy understanding of the instrument and a healthy ability to play it.